So I just recently saw Beau is Afraid, and it was really good. This is a psychological thriller / dark comedy from director Ari Aster, who was the filmmaker behind Midsommar and Hereditary. First things first, this movie is just really up my street, as it's this trippy, introspective character study that's really wacky, creative and vibrant. The film takes place within this hyper-reality where everything is absurdly more miserable and depraved as compared to the real world. And this kind of warped sense of reality really simulates the experience of the anxious mind. This is how people with anxiety view the world. Everything is dangerous and hellish. Everyone wants to kill me. And just for that aspect alone, this is quite an important, unique movie. So the next time someone wants to ask me how I'm doing, I'll just point them in the direction of this film. Like, this film is how I'm doing. This illustrates what my day-to-day experience is like. It's obviously all centered around the main character Beau and this strange journey he undertakes. It's a pretty straightforward A to B narrative, it's just what happens on the way that's really fucked up and weird. A lot of things happen to Beau that are so vile and misfortunate that it becomes comedic, and there you have the dark comedy angle. There are some scenes that are supposed to be taken more seriously, that are supposed to be seen as distressing and disturbing, but there are definitely plenty of other scenes that are actually quite funny. I wouldn't say that the comedy ever takes away from the other emotions that you're supposed to be feeling. You still always feel sorry for Beau every time something awful happens to him, but at the same time you're also acutely aware of just how ridiculously awful all of this is.
I hit you with my car.
What?
I know.
It definitely helps that it's Joaquin Phoenix who's playing the character of Beau, as Joaquin Phoenix can just play such a sympathetic human being. He's probably one of the most raw, emotional actors working today, so it's pretty handy having him around.
I'm visiting my mother tomorrow.
Everything about the storytelling of this film and how things are put across is so unique. The way the first scene is shot, the sound effects used, the way everything is edited. There's nothing in here that feels derivative of another movie's style. Ari Aster has his own concrete personality. It's all just visually striking down to the production design and the way it's lit. With regards to the colour palette, there are many great and gorgeous uses of oranges and yellows, these autumnal colours, and it's beautiful. Certainly nothing is lacking in the visual department. Obviously Joaquin Phoenix, he was great once again. He's my favourite actor. He never ceases to deliver a performance that is dripping with raw humanity. And also there are scenes in this film that are depicting a young version of Beau, a child version, and the actor they got to play a young looking version of Joaquin Phoenix, brilliant fit. In terms of likeness, they found the perfect kid. That was really impressive. Again, with that hyper-reality aspect, a lot of the characters in this are played very over the top emotionally. The performances are really exaggerated. It's all high and low moods. Everyone's either at 1 or 10. It's either utterly livid, totally devastated, or absolutely terrified. And of course, terror in particular is a prominent emotion. It does live up to the title, Beau is Afraid. I don't even know how to say it. Beau is Afraid. So I just recently saw Beau is Afraid. Now this is a 3-hour film, but I think it's an appropriate length. Every scene kind of complements the themes of the story. It's not that it's poorly paced, it just has a slow pace. It's slow cinema, there's nothing wrong with that. It isn't a condensed happy meal. Cinema should be able to demand a certain amount of patience from the viewer. If you are bored by a film like this, and I'm not trying to be funny, but it is, in this day and age, much more likely to be a problem with your own attention span than it is with the pacing of the movie. But that's a whole other bag of worms, but I wholeheartedly believe that. I will say that in this point in the video, you might want to click off if you haven't seen it, because I think you'd want to know as little as possible going into this film. So I recommend not watching the rest of this video if you haven't seen the film. With that being said, let's continue on. Now you might be asking, well, what is this film about? And I'll go into that a little bit.
What do you think I should do?
I'm sure you'll do the right thing, sweetheart.
So this film heavily deals with the devouring mother archetype, or just manipulative parental figures in general. And as a showcase of manipulative behaviour and seeing someone be psychologically tormented by all of these exterior forces, it's manipulation that's so subtly done and you can't always outright spot it. You're experiencing all of this through Beau, and through him you think you're going crazy, and sometimes you actually think, oh shit, I am in the wrong, I am being a bad person here. Because the whole thing is essentially about people using guilt guilt as a weapon against Beau and making him feel like he's done something wrong when he hasn't. Like, this might be one of the most visceral depictions of what guilt can do to a person's psychology in film ever. If nothing else, that aspect of the film is so authentically captured, and it's really relatable for people who've had to deal with manipulative people, perhaps, or people who are always mentally torturing themselves. It's quite a vile experience, and I can imagine it's quite a common experience for all of the schizos who are into these kind of films like Midsummer and The Lighthouse. What are you doing? You shouldn't be watching this video. You should be using this time to help someone less fortunate than yourself. That kind of shit. It's that fucking word that starts with a G that I'm not gonna fucking use because I'm sick of it. On an introspective level, this is a good companion piece to something like The Master or Her or Joker. It's just another good Joaquin Phoenix-led character study. Near the middle of the film, there is this stage play sequence which is sensational. It essentially illustrates a lot of the themes of the film in a very expressive way, so if you were lost, I kind of struggled to see how you wouldn't understand what this film's going for by that point. The play is almost like a microcosmic version of the entire film, and it's not just that it's a play, but Beau enters into this separate plane of existence where it's all animated, and the entire set takes on the style of a stage play with all of these cardboard trees and buildings, and all of that mixed in with these uses of hand-drawn animations was amazing to witness. It's one of those moments in film that make you go, oh yeah, this is why I love filmmaking. It's beautiful, it's engaging, it's expressive and purposeful, it fits the themes, and I know it's early, but it's kind of my favourite movie scene of the year. There is also a romantic aspect to the film which is successfully touching. It involves a few flashbacks with this girl he meets as a kid on holiday. There were very few scenes devoted to that storyline, but it still felt well developed and I was invested in it. And it's also extremely bittersweet given where the story goes, because you have this devouring mother character who instills this fear of sex into Beau when he's a kid, and you have this symbolism that depicts sex and reproduction as this bad thing in Beau's mind because he's just so afraid of it. And it's all because of his mother, and it's so tragic as it deters him away from creating his own life and having a family. He can't even grow out of his mother's grasp and become a part of a new community, and these are very timeless themes. Now, as the third act rolled around, I thought that this would end on a positive, uplifting note, but I was horribly wrong, and the last half hour was very depressing to watch, and that's when the comedy almost stopped and it was just sad. You want Beau to escape, you want him to flourish and live a happy life, but unfortunately that isn't what happens. It is not a happy ending, it is a cautionary tale about someone succumbing and ultimately perishing to their abusive parents' manipulative ways. It's a depressing story about a wasted life. All of the things that could go wrong did go wrong. He actually almost escapes at one point, but then there's another horrendous accident near the end of the film that scares him back into being susceptible to his mother's psychological hold, and at the end he is literally and metaphorically devoured at the hands of the devouring mother. It's straight up misery porn. He didn't overcome any of his demons, he didn't break through and live his own life. The ending gave me a similar feeling to what I got when I first saw Brazil, when you think it's going to end on an inspiring note about liberation, but then the rug is pulled from under you, and you get that one last tonal shift that completely takes the wind out of your sails, and it's horrible. No happiness for you. The final scene did involve this big operatic set piece where Beau is put on trial, and I didn't really think that was necessary, and it was quite on the nose. I thought it just re-explained all of the themes of the film. The final shot, however, I did like, as the credits roll and Ari Aster's name comes up. Very poignant end to a film. In conclusion, I'm really glad that Ari Aster decided to do something different with his latest project. If you ask me, he's already mastered horror, so it was time for him to move on to another genre. This is a great psychological thriller, dark comedy, introspective character study type thing. It's different. I love Ari Aster, he's my favourite modern director working today, and he's easily 3 for 3 with this new film. Beau is Afraid is a film that's strange and a little confusing, so naturally it's going to be quite divisive. effective. Overall though, I'm not too sure what everyone's deal is. It's got very coherent and relatable humanistic themes. It's not really going for any social commentary, it's just all about the mind. It's fucking fantastic. Go see it if you haven't already.
And remember to fucking subscribe.